Hey guys, welcome to Swirl Culinary. This is Aaron and Miss Thomas, and today we're going to do fan favorite dish. We're going to do some orange chicken today, okay? So let's go over some ingredients and equipment real quick. So we're going to use chicken. I'm going to do a mix of dark and white meat. Remember, the dark meat is the thigh and the leg, the drumstick, the breast is up here. So I'm going to do 2 chicken thighs, boneless, skinless. This is about half a chicken breast, boneless, skinless, okay? We're going to use 3 eggs, okay? Half a cup of flour. We're going to use about half a cup of cornstarch plus a little bit more for the sauce. So have a good amount of cornstarch on hand before you start this, okay guys? Little salt, little pepper. Okay, so that's for the chicken. For the sauce we're going to go sesame oil, about a tablespoon. Soy sauce, about a tablespoon. 2 cloves of garlic. Okay. I'm going to do a little bit of yellow onion today, probably about half to a quarter of a yellow onion, okay? Oranges. If you're using smaller oranges, you're going to need about 5 or 6. These are medium-sized oranges, so it's going to take about 3. We want to get a cup of orange juice. If you don't have oranges at home, you can absolutely just use orange juice from the fridge, okay? But this will get you a better product. A little bit of green onion, about half a cup of sugar. Okay, I'm going to use rice wine vinegar today. If you have white vinegar, that is absolutely fine. Just stay away from like apple cider vinegar or white wine vinegar or red wine vinegar. Just rice wine or regular distilled vinegar is fine, okay? A little bit of red chili flake, a little bit of fresh ginger. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of sesame seed for garnish, and then a little bit of Magi seasoning. We'll go over what that is, okay? As far as equipment, a juicer, a zester, measuring cup, cutting board, knife, and you're gonna need a second cutting board for over there and a second, well, if you don't feel like doing a lot of dishes, just have a, you can do 1 knife and just switch before as you go. And that's most of the equipment. So the only other thing we're gonna need is, you're gonna need a sauce pot to put the sauce in, okay? And what I have right here is I have a big sauce pot filled with frying oil, okay? If you guys have like a deep fat fryer at home, you can use that. I'm just going to use this and just keep an eye on the temperature of it, okay? I'm also going to use a spider today. Tongs work fine. So this is all you really need. So let's get started on the chicken first, okay? So remember, this is raw chicken, so I'm going to use gloves today. Okay. Okay. So first thing I want to do is I want to crack 3 eggs into a bowl. Let me grab my trash can. Okay. And this is going to be the binder that holds the cornstarch and the flour onto the egg, all right? Or onto the chicken, I'm sorry. So we're going to crack. Okay, there's our 3 eggs. We'll whisk those up in a bit. But let's just chop up the chicken. So if you guys have ever had orange chicken before, you want like nice bite-sized pieces. So what I'm talking about is, this is why it's easier to do the boneless, skinless, honestly. And you just want you want pieces like this. See about the size I'm talking about? So when they say bite-sized piece, that's what they're talking about. I really like dark meat for this dish. I feel like it gives it a little bit better flavor in the end product, but if you don't like dark meat and you just want to use white meat, that's okay too. That's why we have the breast as well. So we're just going to cut up the chicken. Try to keep the pieces in the same general size. Once they go into the fryer, you don't want one piece being raw while the other ones are basically burnt. So try to keep them in the same ballpark of size, all right? So usually a chicken thigh, you just cut a strip off of it and then cut it into thirds. And we're just going to put them into a bowl off to the side, okay? That knife isn't very sharp. I don't want to cut myself. No, it's fine. So this is what I'm talking about, these sizes. Okay. So we're just going to get our chicken cut up, and then we'll go back to the dredging, yeah. So I'm going to get this chopped, and then we'll see you guys back in 1 second. So the chicken's all chopped up into nice bite-sized pieces. So guys, we talk about this ad nauseum. I just want to say it again. Remember, I'm doing the chicken away from the veggies, all right? This is what we're talking about with cross-contamination. Keep raw chicken away from everything else. Just do it somewhere else, all right? You don't want to, I mean, this is all going to get cooked, but I don't even want to stress about it, honestly. So just do it away from when you're doing your veggies and stuff. Okay, so we're just going to whisk our egg real good. So this is our binder. This is what's going to help the flour stick. Okay, this is actually a good time to talk about this. Some of, in the past I've had people say, hey, I have a gluten allergy, I can't do this. So if you do, you can omit the flour and you can just use cornstarch, and then when we get to the soy sauce, we'll talk about something different and it'll make it gluten-free, okay? So we're gonna do half a cup of flour, half a cup of cornstarch. So guys, it's always good to have cornstarch on hand. It's got 100 different uses, honestly. A little bit of cornstarch right in there. Okay. A little bit of pepper, just to get a little bit of seasoning. A little bit of salt. Okay, right in. And traditionally, you just mix this up with a chopstick. I'm just gonna use my hands today. Chicken's going in there anyway, so it's fine. So if there's like lumps of the cornstarch, just sort of break them apart. Okay. So we got our flour cornstarch mix. So we want to do this in small batches. We don't want to do this too much at a time. So we're just going to take some chicken right in the egg, get it coated, bring it up, get as much egg, not dripping. You just don't want it dripping. Get it into the flour mixture. Shake it off and just put it in a separate place, okay? Just, you don't want to leave it in the bowl. There's a chance it'll get soggy and stick together. So just put it somewhere else, on a sheet pan, whatever you want. So I'm gonna get this done and then we'll come back, okay guys? Remember, this is a vocabulary word we talked about dragging it through the flour and the cornstarch. That's called dredging, guys, okay? So once you have your chicken dredged, we're gonna put it off to the side. We're not gonna worry about it right now. I'm just gonna put it over here. Worry about that later. Okay, so let's now talk about the sauce, all right? Sauce is super, super simple. Basically, everything's gonna go into a sauce pot. We're gonna heat it, and then we're gonna thicken it, all right? Okay, so the first things first, make sure you get your stickers off your oranges. So if you're using whole oranges, what it wants from you is it wants the zest of one orange, okay? And that's gonna go right in the sauce. So this is a tool called a zester, and when anybody says zest, they're just talking about, so what you do, it's just got a curved blade right there, and you just run it. And you see that, like the little slivers come up? That's zest, okay? The zest is, if you're talking a lemon, it's the yellow part. You're talking an orange, it's the orange part. You're talking a lime, it's the green part. Once you get to that white part, the pith, don't go any farther than that. We just want to do the surface of this, okay? See all that zest coming up? A lot of recipes will call for this. If you don't have a zester at home, you can do it with a cheese grater. You can do it with a very small knife. But this works really well. So if you can get one of these, get one. I use it pretty frequently. A lot of recipes call for zest of oranges, limes, stuff like that. Also, it makes a fantastic garnish. Okay, so we're just gonna zest an orange real quick. It's kind of funny, just sort of, you're raking the orange basically. And this is a decent sized orange. I don't need all this zest. I'm gonna do about 3/4 of this. This is a pretty good size orange. You know, depending on the season, depending on the store, you're gonna find different size oranges. But if you're doing a tangerine or something like that, you're gonna zest 2 or 3 tangerines, it's okay. Any citrus will work for this dish, really. Okay, so you see how much zest I got up off of that? Okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this up. So I did this before I juiced the orange, because once I cut these and squeeze them, it's gonna be very hard to get the zest back off. So do it to one orange before you actually squeeze it, all right? Okay, so there's my zest. It looks like carrot shavings at this point. So I'm just gonna plop that into a bowl. Okay, so now it wants us to juice the oranges. So, easiest way to do that is you take your orange and you roll it between your hand and a hard surface all around, and that helps break it up on the inside. It helps mush it, so you get more juice out of it, okay? You're gonna see, whether you have a juicer at home, whether it's an electric, it looks like this with like a motor attached, and you just press it down and it spins. This is a hand juicer. You're gonna see a couple different ones. This is another hand juicer. You stick it in the orange and twist. I don't like these as much because it doesn't collect the seeds. If you don't have a juicer at home, Mush your orange, cut it in half, and put your hand over a bowl and squeeze the orange through your hand, but you're gonna leave a little little space there for the orange to go through, the orange juice to go through, but it's gonna catch the seeds. So you just leave your fingers apart a little bit like that and you squeeze it through, okay? So they want 1 cup of orange juice, which is about 3 decent sized oranges, all right? If you're doing smaller, 4 or 5. And then we just want to place this down. And you want to press in on all the sides, okay? If you're not using oranges at home and you're using orange juice, it doesn't really matter if you do pulp or not. It's all going to be fine in the sauce. There's even going to be, just by juicing these, there's going to be a little bit of pulp, and that's okay. If you're shopping for oranges, try to get the biggest, the ones that seem the most or past the point of being ripe. That's a good juice in orange, okay? You don't want unripe green oranges. It's not going to go well. You're not going to get very much juice from it. But see, after I do this, I can feel how smushy it is inside. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, so now we just want to keep juicing. You can see how much juice is coming off of this orange. And you want to squeeze it all around. You want to get all that juice out of there. Okay, so let's see where we're at. So this was about 2. Yeah, just for the sake of whatever, I'm going to do the 3 oranges. Okay. So remember, always going to roll it. Do this with lemons, do this with limes too. Anytime you have to juice something, roll it around first. You can also put it in the microwave for about 20 seconds. That does the same thing, basically. But I find that's a pain. I mean, I got hands. I can do this. So guys, these are navel oranges. Use these almost immediately. The juice will turn a little bit bitter over time. So use this as fresh squeeze as you possibly can. Don't squeeze the oranges ahead of time. Do it right when you're about to cook this dish, okay? Okay, so now I'm gonna grab my pot. Just gonna put that there. Okay, so first, just look, make sure there's no seeds in there. Okay. Right in the sauce pot. That looks really good. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna add about 3/4 of the zest I had. I'm gonna save a little bit for garnish, but I'm just gonna add about 3/4 of it right back in, and that's gonna give it a real strong orange flavor, okay? Okay, I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of the red chili pepper flake. You can always do, if you guys like it spicy, you can also add like Thai chili peppers, stuff like that. I'm gonna do about a tablespoon of the rice wine vinegar. Okay. 1 tablespoon. Okay, right in there, and that's what gives it that that vinegar bite. If you guys ever have orange chicken like from Panda Express, you'll taste it. If you know what you're looking for, you're gonna taste it. Okay. Let me grab a whisk real quick. Okay, we're gonna add about 1/2 cup of our sugar. Right in. Once the sugar goes in, just give it a quick whisk just to get that sugar a little bit dissolved. So remember, there's sweet from the fruit juice, there's sweet from the sugar. Okay. About a tablespoon of the soy sauce. And remember when I talked about if you need to make this gluten-free, anytime you go to the grocery store, you'll see something called tamari. That's always gluten-free soy sauce, okay? So if you do have a gluten intolerance, get tamari. That's always gluten-free. So we're gonna do about 1 tablespoon of this. Okay. One tablespoon of our sesame seed oil. This is one of those things, I don't think this is a great substitute for this. If you can get sesame oil, please get sesame oil. It gives it a really awesome nutty flavor. Okay, so we're gonna do a little bit of ginger. So remember we talked about ginger before. Ginger comes as a root. This brown stuff is the bark. I want the white underneath. And I just need about a teaspoon of this. So just take the edge of your spoon and you can basically just peel your garlic, or your ginger. And then when you get it peeled, chop off how much you think you're gonna need. Okay, so about that much. So So I'm just going to work around the brown. I'm just going to sort of trim it from this point forward, okay? Remember, ginger is very strong, so don't overdo it with the ginger unless you really, really like ginger, okay? Okay, so cut it into manageable sized pieces. And then we're going to mince. Just going to break it down really little. Bringing it back. This is one of those things, this and the garlic, you want to mince it really well. You don't want to see huge chunks of ginger or garlic floating around in your sauce. You know, if you like garlic, add an extra clove. If you don't like garlic, don't add any cloves. It's not the end of the world. This is your recipe, guys. You do with it what you want. Okay, so that's good. So that's going to go right in our sauce. Okay, now we're going to do the garlic again. Remember, this is a whole clove of garlic. It's got the skin on. All we do is take the flat side of our knife until you hear a pop. Okay, you just press it down until you hear a pop. And then it comes right up out. See how easy that is to peel garlic? It's really nothing. Nope, that's good. Okay. So remember, I'm going to do 2 cloves today. So same thing as the ginger. We're going to break it down more manageable. We're going to get it into a little pile, and then we're just going to start mincing. Get it off the sides. Okay, right into our pot. Like I said, everything is going to go into this pot. Okay. So I'm also going to add about 1/4 of an onion. Pretty thick. I like to see the onion in it. I think it gives it a nice contrast and it also gives it some nice flavor. So I don't need a boatload. So let's say 1/4 of a yellow onion, okay? So for these, I'm going to cut them into strips like this. Okay, so that's my julienne. Now we're going to go to our dice. So I want like bite sizes like this. And these are going to cook in the sauce, okay? Let's see. So that was about 1/2 an onion, so I'm going to do about 1/4. Okay, so now what we're going to do, guys, is this is good right now. So this is just going to go on the heat, okay? So let's talk about our next couple of steps. So I'm going to put this on the heat. I'm going to let it heat up till it starts to simmer, till when it starts to get hot. We're going to do one more thing to it. I'm going to start heating up the oil. I also have a little bit of rice over here just for serving. But we're going to get this warmed up. We're going to get the oil heat up, and then we're going to check back, okay? Okay, guys, so our sauce is coming to a boil. We're just going to turn down the temp on that one a little bit. We'll work on that in a second. So we're just going to turn it down. Okay, so my fry oil, the temperature I'm looking for is anywhere from 325 to 350. So I'm just going to use my trusty thermometer. We're going to give it a shot. So we're going to see where we're at. We are sitting right at about 340 degrees. That is perfect. So what I'm going to do is I don't want this to get much hotter, so I'm actually going to drop the temp on this as well, okay? We're going to do this in a couple different batches. So the easiest thing to do is if you have the spider at home, you can basically just load it up, and then you can dump it all at once. If you have to do it individually, that's okay. Just be very careful. We're dealing with very hot oil, and you're going to burn yourself really, really easily. So just be very careful when you do this, guys. So remember, the more we put in there, the more it's going to drop the temperature of the fry oil, and it's not going to fry right. So we're going to do this in 2 batches, all right? So what we want to do is we're just going to lower it right in there. Okay, just give it a quick stir, just make sure nothing's sticking together. Okay, so we're just going to let that go. At this point, have a plate ready with some paper towels to drain it as you get it back out. So remember I said we still had to do one more thing with the sauce? That's a lie. We had to do 2 more things. I'm going to drop a couple drops of this Magi seasoning right in there just to give it that little umami flavor right at the end. Okay. Now the real thing we have to do is, this sauce is still way too thin, okay? So we're going to have to thicken it up. So remember, when we were thickening our gravy, we made something called roux. That was flour and butter. Asian cooking does not use that. They use something called a slurry. So what that is cornstarch. A little bit of cornstarch right here, guys. Okay, I'm just gonna put that in a bowl. Okay, we're gonna mix some water in there. We're gonna stir it all up, okay? And it's gonna create, it almost looks like milk. Okay. So add just a little bit of water at a time, stir it up, and then see where you're at. Okay, so we're just gonna give it a good mix. So that's perfect. Cornstarch is very, very weird to work with. If you let this sit, it's gonna turn into basically magic sand. But this is awesome at thickening sauces, okay? So if you want to thicken a sauce that you don't really want to add butter or flour into, use your slurry, cornstarch and water. That's all you're going to need to do. All right, I'm just going to check these real quick. Just give them a quick stir. Those are frying up really, really nice. All right. So just by looking at them, I can tell they're not quite done yet. So let's add a little slurry into ours. So start very slowly. Add about 2. Put it off to the side. Cornstarch is a little bit different than roux. It's going to start to work faster. It's almost going to start thickening it immediately. Okay, so we're going to let that just see where we're at. Okay. I'm going to give these another quick stir. Alright, so at this point, guys, what I want to do is I want to find the biggest piece I can, right? So those two are pretty comparable. Those are 2 pretty big pieces. Okay, I want to take my thermometer and I want to temp it right in the middle. Remember, I'm looking for 165, so these are coming up at 145, so I still know they need a few more minutes. So remember, if the biggest piece temps at 165, all the littler pieces are going to temp at 165 too, so always find the biggest piece you can. See how nice those look, guys? So that's the cornstarch. It gives it a really nice breading. They use it like tempura, stuff like that, but we did a mix of flour and cornstarch, and they look like little chicken nuggets. So we're gonna let those go. We're gonna take a look at our sauce real quick. So you can see those 2 spoonfuls of cornstarch already helped it thicken up a little bit. So I'm gonna go 2 more, honestly. Okay, because I want this to stick. I want this to stick to the chicken. All right, give that another quick stir. It's already starting to thicken up. It works almost immediately, guys. Okay, these chicken pieces are done. So I'm gonna have my crusty paper towel. One goes back in there. Okay, try to get as much grease off as you can to start. Okay. Put those off to the side, and we're gonna do our second batch, okay? So remember, I'm just not trying to overload it. So we'll just do that amount for right now. Okay, right back in. And we're gonna do the exact same thing. Okay, so let's take a look at our sauce real quick, guys. Okay, so this is our sauce. You can see how it's already starting to thicken. I still want it even a little bit thicker than that. So I'm gonna do about 6 spoonfuls of the slurry, okay? So right in, give it another stir. That's looking really good. So you see the thickness? That's what we're looking for, guys. So that's how you thicken up Asian sauces. You use your slurry, and you just continue to let this cook a little bit, okay? If you thicken it up too much, cut it with a little bit of water. So we're gonna finish frying, the sauce is gonna cook a little bit, and we'll put it all together, all right? Okay, guys, so the sauce is thickened perfectly where we want it. Our chicken is cooked up, so the only thing left to do is plate this up. So take the chicken, put it in a big bowl. Now we're gonna take our sauce, and we're just gonna pour it right over the top. Do this part right before you serve, okay? Because if you, if you wait around with this, it's gonna get mushy. That's why we wanted a super crisp crust, so it stays a little bit of crispy in the sauce. Okay, we're gonna give it a stir. Okay, we're gonna get all that orange sauce mixed all over it, okay? Okay, so now for plating, guys, what we're gonna do is, so this is our orange chicken. Okay, so what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna grab a plate, we're gonna grab some rice. Okay. Remember, we went over making rice. This should, you guys should know how to make rice by now. Okay. So we're gonna come over here. Take a little bit of our orange orange chicken. I'm just gonna pour it right over the rice. Okay. Okay, now for garnish, guys. A couple different things. So we're gonna use a little bit of that orange zest. Okay, right over. Okay, a little bit of the crushed red chili flake. Okay, a little bit of the sesame seed. And then last but not least, we're gonna do just a little bit of green onion. So you wanna cut it real thin, okay? And that's just gonna go right over the top. Okay guys, so that's it. That is our orange chicken. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll see you next time, all right? Bye.